heard the expression, he can't see the forest from the trees? Sure you have, but you see, there is no such thing as a forest. Just to give you a clue as to where am I going with this, it's human abstract thinking that has allowed us to build complex global society thanks to speech. Truly global is of course only the contemporary civilization thanks to recorded speech, unless you subscribe to the works of, well, just anybody starting from Plato and ending with Graham Hancock. But I mean a larger complex society covering more than your village and your direct surroundings. Now, here to keep this video short and to the point, I won't be quoting Professor Yuval Harari's excellent book again, which is available to anybody who's interested. It is evident, even after a brief reflection, that speech, the codified method of assigning universal phenomena a unique sound description, has captivated our imagination since times immemorial. Then it took another quantum leap to start recording these on external objects, such as clay, tablets, animal skins, paper. We became capable of creating material, tangible carriers, even of our unique internal lives and ideas. Narcissistic and solipsistic as we are, we tend to ascribe to this capability of ours an overblown meaning and significance. We became myth creators, distributors, believers, adepts, and followers. We turned our wishful thinking into belief in magic. I put a spell on you. Why spell? Well, ancients believed they could control external objects and phenomena by using their correctly spelled names. Do not use such and such word in vain. Sounds familiar? The belief in mystic power of human speech remains as an atavism in all modern religions. Take for example Christianity, the Tower of Babel. When humans had common language, they became godlike, so competition had to interfere. Or the beginning of the Gospel of John. In principio erat verbum, e Deus erat verbum. So human abstract thinking capability, human natural proclivity to see patterns where there are none, when combined with self-aggrandizement as means to cope with our own mortality, makes us extremely susceptible to grand ideas, philosophies, and ideologies, which purport to give universal, though when dissected always somehow childishly anthropogenic, but anyhow universal structure and meaning to life and the universe as a whole. Our capability to create, apprehend, and succumb to abstraction makes us almost delusional, to the point that abstract ideas can overrule our everyday immediate practical experience, our common sense and knowledge and logic. An abstract idea can overrule common sense and something as basic as self-preservation instinct. Let me give you an example which is probably appealing to the Americans. From September 22nd, 1776, Nathan Hale. I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. But there is no such object in nature, a country. Just like there is no forest, it is a man-made abstraction. Yet the idea of it transcends human self-preservation instinct. Human economic activity touches us in a more superficial level. As Professor Harari far more eloquently explains, it is much lesser stretch of imagination to replace barter with something imaginary that doesn't exist, money, currency. Family, on the other hand, is not an abstraction. Blood ties are quite real. So I will here share with you a sad, more than a century old anecdote from my native Balkans. A Bulgarian couple in Macedonia had 3 sons. One was Greek, one was Serbian, and the third was Macedonian. And please, dear compatriots and beloved neighbors, I don't want to offend anybody. Let's leave our eternal hatreds aside. I just wanted to illustrate the fact that political, religious, and whatever abstract ideas are more powerful than the tangible, immediate family ties, the bloodline. And my explanation to this weird phenomenon is a simple sublimation of our self-preservation instinct. Abstract ideas are immortal. If your personal sacrifice makes you a part of something eternal, well, I guess I spoke about that in my previous videos. The death drive, that Thanatos takes over. I guess in this case the self-preservation instinct combined with narcissism turns into a death drive. But why am I wasting your time with my shallow insights for more than 5 minutes already? I just want to build me the theoretical foundation to the practical conclusion I've reached. It would seem more practical to me that an organized society of humans with all the quirks I described would need to have an underlying abstract ideology, mythology, and structure as a cohesive, rather than practical considerations such as survival of the species. Imagine a primitive band of hunter-gatherers. The leader says, "Guys, the woolly mammoth is really big and strong. I need 10 of you to help me hunt it to secure meat for the winter. Meantime, it may stomp a couple of you, but otherwise we may all starve to death." Not good enough as a motivation, right? I am sure the first vegans would have appeared right there and then. How about I fall into trance and start scribbling symbols on the cave wall, then assure you I just communicated with the Great Spirit, who on his side assured me that should you get stomped, your spirit would join that of the great mammal to a place where you would be warm and fuzzy with plenty of food and women. Now, most of you that know me personally would laugh and ignore me. Nobody is a prophet in their own land, as they say. But I need only a couple of believers, just a few disciples. Imagine if the word spreads around and reaches a cave far and away. Just give it some time. Let it reach the same targeted public from multiple sources. Based on what I've said earlier, the targeted public would soon be killing each other over a dispute on the subject of whether I am for real or not. Give it some time, depending on the means of communication, and I'll have my own ardent disciples. The more ambitious and unreal the idea is, the larger crowd it would attract. Of course, more successful ideologies are more abstract, because they are more difficult to test and to prove or disprove. You come up with a large, absurd, abstract idea with very little to substantiate it, but instead of waiting to be laughed out of the room, you challenge the crowd to prove you wrong. Put a charismatic actor to spread the word, and it might just work. Also, it will work very well if there were an implied or expressed fear factors to my ideas. Debate me and you will suffer in the afterlife. Emotional blackmail works fine too. You will cause others to suffer. And with the risk of being controversial here, I would say that this last one works better on the female part of humanity, as more compassionate and socially apprehensive. But I would go into sexual dichotomy in other videos. For now, I want to wrap up this video with the conclusion that since global, complex society requires individual sacrifices, surely more intelligent observers than I must have been able to generate a great abstract idea or compile such ideas into an all-rounded system of thought and drive large masses of population in desired direction, for better or worse. Because one might conclude that ruling with consent, ruling motivated people, is far more efficient than rule by force. Hence, slavery evolved into feudalism. the system West Europe and North America lives in for the last 1500 years, despite some recent cosmetic changes and despite what you've been told about capitalism. Remember, efficient society may bring about a universal rise in living standards, which might lead to universal education, which in turn might challenge the existing order, as George Orwell suggested in his book 1984. But questions and built-up pressure can be deflected and diverted in various ways. And I'll continue in my next video with everyday practical examples of absurd activities and ideas only made possible by human abstract thinking capabilities. Thank you for watching.